First, disgruntled farmers in France are ramping up pressure on the government for more concessions. They're blocking major highways into the capital for a second day, but for now have been prevented from making any attempts to block access to Paris's airports and the main wholesale food market south of the capital. Now, earlier, France's new Prime Minister laid out his priorities for the government. Gabriel Attal said farming was a strength and called for a French exception to the sector.
Our agriculture is a strength, not only because it feeds us in the literal sense of the term, but because it constitutes one of the foundations of our identity, of our traditions, because our farmers embody fundamental values, and which, when they are restricted, weaken society as a whole. I'm thinking of the value of work, effort, and freedom of enterprise. Our agriculture is a strength and our pride as well, so I solemnly say it here, there is and there must be a French agricultural exception.
We can now go across to France 24's Carys Garland standing by at the National Assembly. Carys, what were some of the main takeaways from this speech from Attal?
Attal struck a fairly nationalistic tone, I would say, in this speech, starting by paying tribute to people like fishermen, teachers and local politicians. He also struck a defiant tone as France comes up against geopolitical and economic challenges. He said France will never give in to these challenges. He also hailed the achievements of President Emmanuel Macron since the beginning of his first term and Macron's previous governments. In terms of content, as we heard, he did mention agriculture and farmers. How could he not? But it was briefly, as we heard, to say that it was France's pride and strength. At the end of the speech, he did say that there had been progress made on 5 areas with farmers. He did meet farmers' unions earlier. But in terms of other content, work, security, housing were also main themes. In terms of housing, which is in crisis, the sector, coming up to the Olympics in Paris in the summer, he said that he wants to create 30,000 places of housing in the next 3 years and wants to do that by a number of ways, including simplifying norms for energy efficiency in apartments, for example, but also going ahead with taking back empty buildings, which the government has already started doing. He said that the government will continue to do that. In terms of work, a number of announcements were made. That includes he wants his ministers to start experimenting with a 4-day work week within their administrations. He also wants to reform the minimum wage and the way that wages grow. He said that he's very proud to have a very high minimum wage in France compared to its neighbours, but that there were too many people in France that had low salaries that were close to this minimum wage. So that was something that Gabriel Attal said that he wanted to change. Also reforms for the wages of civil servants, he said he wanted to change, and that includes incorporating merit into how these salaries are calculated. So lots of issues were touched upon in this hour-and-a-half speech nearly. Lots of also booing from members of parliament. The president of the National Assembly did have to intervene at times to call for order, and this is surely not going to go by smoothly with people from the left or even the far right, as Gabriel Attal announces these new measures for his government.